We did a few webinar over the past few months on various angles, such as all you need to know, the coastal ways, etc. But we with Jeremy, we're thinking of getting a bit more deeper into some of the three most popular ways of the Camino de Santiago, and so that's what we're going to cover on this particular webinar. So to get the thing out of the way, let's get ourselves introduced to you, so you know who you are talking to. So Camino Ways is a tour operator. We organize walking tours, cycling tours, guided tours, also self-guided tours. Actually, the majority of our clients go self-guided. Self-guided means that we book your accommodation, we book your luggage transfer, we select some nice hotels for you, and you are en route on your adventure. You don't have a guide or someone to show you the way. You follow the yellow arrow. We give you an ebook on your mobile. We give you a map on your Google Map, and you're on your way. We also support you by giving you 24/7 telephone number in case there's a problem with your hotel or something on the way. We help you, and we deal with individual and groups. And in fact, Jeremy is it's mostly dealing with group, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's right. So, and a group really is anything from 8+ people, and we've worked with up to over 100 people. So, the most common size would be about 16 to 25 people in a group, and it's obviously there's a little bit more we do there, and there's a little bit more interaction, and we can provide guides with that, ground transfers as well, and a really tailored service for groups as well, more so. And so if any one of you out there are planning a group, just get in touch with me, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, but we are also we are also a sort of information center for the Camino. We're probably the biggest information center on the Camino. We got over 1,000 pages of blog info, ebook for your preparation, videos, and all sort of things. Actually, in fairness, you can Google anything on Google, and I'm sure one of our page will pop up. And so we spend an incredible amount of time to try to populate some content to help any type of pilgrim on the way. So a brief history of the Camino. I won't spend too much time on it, but basically the Camino is probably the most famous pilgrimage today. It's basically a pilgrimage to the tomb of Saint James, the brother of Jesus. Saint James went to preach in Iberia, was buried in Iberia in around in the around the year 40, and is being totally forgotten until the 9th century, where a Spanish king found his remains, built a church, and since the 9th century, people have been flocking to the tomb of Saint James on this famous pilgrimage. And today there's COVID these days. It's a little bit less last year and this year, obviously, but in 2019 there's over 300,000 people walking the Camino during the year. So it's not 300,000 in a block. It's just spread over the year. Um, so, we're going to start by typical questions to give you an idea about the Camino, how to plan, etc. And then we're going to get into the three ways. So, Jeremy, you're at the forefront really of the question of the clients. You've done the Camino several times as well on various ways. When is the best time to walk the Camino?
Well, really, the season stretches from April right through to mid-October, but the weather obviously changes within that time period. From April to May, it's springtime, so you can get good fresh weather with a bit of rain, and then moving into May and June, July, it obviously gets a bit hotter as you're moving into July and August. If you don't like hot weather, perhaps avoid August because it can get quite hot, but never really over kind of 35 degrees. and then moving back into September, October, that's when the temperature starts to decline to about 22 degrees. The average temperatures range between about 22 degrees and 35, but normally in around the 25 degrees. It can rain. If you're walking for a week or longer, you are going to experience different weather. So it's always wise to pack for that. But if it does rain, it's usually hard and fast and in the morning, and it clears up by the afternoon. But that's what we're here for. There's plenty of blogs on our website about specific months and what the weather's like, or if you're booking with us, and you can ask us directly when we feel the best time is for you to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. And don't forget as well, people listening to us, that this year is the year of St. James, the Jacobean year. There is huge celebration in Santiago all through the summer. The cathedral will have this famous Holy Door open. It's going to be really a fantastic year. It's going to be extended part of next year as well. So if you can't make it, basically in 2021, you will have the opportunity as well to share some of the fun next year with us. The accommodation, Jeremy, how would you describe the various accommodation? Some people are afraid that it's a little bit basic, and some other people are afraid about the budget. So how would you describe them?
Well, there's definitely something there for everybody, and I think that's the main thing. And the Camino is amazing for that, to be able to offer the services they do on pretty much thousands of kilometers of routes, which is, it's unheard of really on a global level. So this is what really makes the Camino unique, in the fact that it really suits everybody's budget. So, from the basic, which everybody knows and famous for the hostels or albergues, and you'll find these dotted all over the Camino and all the different routes. They're more prevalent the closer you get to Santiago de Compostela. But in general, if you walk an average of 15 kilometers a day, you're going to come across albergue or hostel. And these are, as a hostel, these are what hostels do. The majority of them you cannot pre-book. So you walk in, you ask for a bed. You will get a bed in a dormitory. You'll be sharing with lots of other Camino pilgrims. And you will make your own dinner and breakfast and then leave in the morning to continue your journey. The second type of accommodation really that will be as prevalent on the Camino, if not more so, would be hotels. And again, there's a hotel to suit people's budget. So anything from your 3-star hotel, which would be quite a typical hotel, right up to 5-star paradors. So you can see on the slide here on the right-hand side, you see two very kind of palatial beds that is taken in the Parador, the famous 5-star Parador in Santiago de Compostela, which some people love to stay in when they finish their journey on the Camino, and it is palatial. And on the left, you'll see a hotel, that's a typical 3-star hotel. And the thing to note about hotels is really you will get a private room, and you will have an ensuite bathroom, and you will have the option of having meals there, and you will always be provided breakfast there. So there is something really to suit everybody's budget. There's lots of them, so it can take the number of people that walk the Camino, and also there's a great atmosphere around all the types of accommodation, because invariably they cater for other Camino pilgrims, so you will meet lots of people on the same journey as you.
Yeah, absolutely. And what generally do you advise the people what to pack when they are going on the Camino? Well, let's say with us, what would you say you need to take on the Camino?
Well, if you're traveling with us, one of our definitely one of the things people love about us is that we transfer your main bit of luggage. So if you fly into the Camino and you're with us for a week, or as some people are with us for up to 6 weeks, 7 weeks, we will transfer your main bag, and we'll pick that up at your accommodation, and we'll drop it into your next accommodation. So when you walk, you only need a light backpack. And in that, you should really have what you would need for a day's walking. I always say an extra pair of good hiking socks, a nice little hand towel to dry your feet if you want to drop your feet into cooling water for half an hour and then dry your feet and put new socks on. A heavier layer like a fleece is always good to have, because if you stop for a rest, you'll always find that you'll actually cool down and feel cold even in sunlight. It's always good to have your sun hat or a cap. I think ponchos are excellent because you can just whip a poncho out quickly, get it onto you so you stay dry. Better than a raincoat because you have to take your backpack off, take the raincoat out, put your raincoat on, and by the time you're that, you're usually quite wet. And there's the obvious things like sun cream, cameras. Obviously, you definitely need a camera, and any personal items you need to carry. If you're not traveling with us and you don't have a luggage transfer, that's a different story. You need to be extremely clever about what you pack and the weight. I remember I did it self-supported, and I was by the third day I was sending home things as small as iPads because there just any extra ounce of weight does add to your let's say your struggle to walk. So there's lots of good webinars and lots of good information again on our website about what to pack, where and what to bring, depending on the length of time you're going.
Great. So now, if we get into our route there, after our short introduction of what to do, how to do it, what to bring, we wanted to show you some of the most popular ways, the most popular route of the Camino. Okay, so the big label is the Frances. It's also called the French way. It's the most popular. If you heard about a Camino, that's probably you've heard about the Camino Frances. The second most popular is the Camino Portugues. It's also on the presentation. It's a nice coastal one. We'll talk about it in a minute. And then the last one we wanted to introduce, if you are you look for a bit more adventure, let's say, this one has less people and it's still absolutely amazingly beautiful too. So let's get into the presentation. So the Camino Frances, I think I've done it. I think Jeremy, you've done it as well on a few occasions. Did you?
I haven't done the whole lot. I've skipped a few sections, but I've done the majority of it. Yeah, and it's I will go back and complete it, and then maybe one day I'll walk the whole thing in one go.
Yes, it's funny enough because we have a lot of people requesting to do, for example, the last 100 kilometers. So if you look at the map there in front of you, it's written Saria. That's really the last week of the Camino, 7 days on the Camino, 100 kilometers, 25K every day maximum, very doable, a lot of little cafes. And then people do this section, do the last 100, say, wow, I love it, or nah, I don't like it. But the people that love it generally start again on the Camino, do, for example, the first part of the Camino Frances. You see the little flag over there with Saint-Jean in France. That's the beginning of the Camino. And overall, from between Saint-Jean and Santiago de Compostela on your left, it's 680 kilometers. So that's about 40 nights walking, 20 nights if you prefer cycling. On average, about 22 kilometers every day, and about 400-meter ascent and descent. Now, the Pyrenees at the beginning, you will have a little bit more. The first day, I think you get 600 or 700-meter ascent and descent. It's not a huge lot, honestly. It's not like going hiking in the Alps or hiking, in the Rockies. But it's still a little bit of activity, and it is not a very, very tough walk. Okay, some days will be longer than others, but on average about 22 kilometers. So to give you an idea, if you start at 9 a.m. on the morning, you're gonna finish around 4 p.m. on the afternoon. That would include your 1 hour lunch, and would include your few break along the way. So it's absolutely feasible, and it's leisurely as well. That particular Camino, the Camino Frances, is the most famous Camino, and there's many cafes and restaurants en route. Roughly every 5 kilometers, every 1 hour walk, you will have a place where you can stop, have a tea, have a coffee, have a beer, talk to people from all over the world. Spanish, obviously, Italian, French, American, Korean, Japanese, Indian, pretty much everywhere. Australians, when they will be able to come, but pretty much really cosmopolitan. And people like you, people like us that are curious about everything, and people that are love the nature, love to meet people. So it's a great place. The highlight along the way, really, the city of Pamplona, of the Run of the Bull, Logroño, the wine region of the Rioja, Burgos, León, Ponferrada, and Santiago, really top city. So if you do part of the Camino, Jeremy, you were saying you don't have to do the full Camino in 5 weeks, don't you?
No, you don't. I mean, a lot of people, it's really up to you. It's the person's choice how and when and where and how long they want to walk, and we can cater for that. And there is a growing amount of people who are walking the full route from Saint Jean all the way to Santiago de Compostela, and it is amazing because you are walking the width of a country pretty much. So you get to experience different cultures along the way from the different regions, the excellent wine and the different types of wine along the way. And it does change. Nearly every day is different, which I think is incredible. And what we do advise as well is you take your rest stops. So in the main cities and towns that Rhoda mentioned, it's always great to take an extra day there and just soak in the sights and sounds and give your feet a rest.
Absolutely, yeah, that's true. So that's a good thing. All those highlight there, the cities along the way. Generally, when people do the full place as well, they generally take one extra night in those places. It's totally worth it. We wanted to present as well the Portuguese coastal. It's really the rising star. It's we're not presenting the full Portuguese. The Portuguese start from Lisbon, but really the nicest part of all is starting in Porto. So now Porto to Santiago is still 2 weeks walk, and we are aware that some people want to do 1 week, then they can start halfway there in Vigo. So if you start in Vigo, you have only 1 week. It's 7 days. But the full length is about 250. It's perfect for the cycling. That would be 1 week cycling, and that would be 2 weeks walking. And on an average, it's slightly less than the Camino Frances, and not much less. It's about 20 kilometers. But once again, I mean, if you were doing like 10K a day, you would be finished by lunchtime. I mean, 10K, I can do it in like 2-3 hours. I mean, 20K is doable. 20K fills up your day, and it's not too difficult. In terms of ascent and descent, it's also a little bit less, about 300-meter ascent and descent per day. It's like leisurely hill walking, nothing too bad. And really, why to do it is walking along the coast. It's really super. You have the opportunity to put your feet in the water at some point. There is some nice little cafe terrace seaside to go for a little beer or a glass of white wine and go for swims. So, and really, if you like seafood, I mean, you can't really find much better than that. I mean, you are in Portugal. Portugal has really the reputation for the fish, and Galicia is fantastic with the shellfish and seafood and white wine. So you're gonna like it. And same, highlight Porto is absolutely an amazing city. It's UNESCO World Heritage. It's built on the side of the river Minho. Absolutely wonderful. Bayona is a little fortress town at the border between Portugal and Spain. I mean, it's a spectacular thing and very nice beach. Vigo is an harbor town, but it's really have a total Galician working class culture, fantastic for evening drinks and going out. It's really great. And well, Santiago, they all go to Santiago, but Santiago is the top city, obviously. So have you done part of the Portuguese, Jeremy, yet, or?
I actually haven't, because I spent the last few years working on inbound tours into Ireland. So it was next to my list, and it's next to my list now again. So I'm definitely, definitely going to go and do it. You know, and there's so many options on this route. Uh, there is the central option as well, which pretty much follows the same route, but a little bit more inland. And we have a new spiritual route where you take a little boat trip for one of the days as well. So there's so much option on this route. And I think you mentioned most things. I think one of the fascinating things is that you're moving from one country into another by foot. And I've always said moving slowly through a country is how you really get to know it and experience it. And here, second to none, because you're going to have the joy of walking beside the sea and then experiencing the seafood and the excellent little villages along the way that live out of the sea. And also the opportunity to go for a swim each evening. To me, this is a perfect route. It's not as challenging as the other routes because you're on the coast and it's easy to follow, and it doesn't have the same gradients. So it's really great for anybody and everybody, families especially, and a lot of people are looking for family experiences now, especially after the situation we've been through. So this offers so much, and we can offer so much from this as well. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Great, yeah, great comment on walking slow and like taking the time. Really, that's the great thing about the Camino, and actually taking the time. Probably the Northern Way is one of the best as well. I suppose the Northern Way is not really much travel. There is some really beautiful coastal resort. So when you stay at the evening, you have some villages and lovely places as well when you can eat good food. But in between, the trails there's not that many people on Camino del Norte, the Northern Way. But you still have the experience of the Basque country, the Cantabrian coast, the Asturias, and there, and finishing up to Santiago by Galicia. It's a route I particularly like, especially that some of the food, especially at the beginning, San Sebastian, Bilbao, Santander, the food in the Basque country is brought to a level of a Michelin star level. Everything is just so delicious. It's you eat the tapas, the pichon really for dinner, and they are absolutely superb. And they do all type of pichon and food type. It is really superb. Different culture as well, different than the normal, I would say, Castilian Spanish with a different language as well, a different identity. I totally recommend that place. But the one I especially most recommend is the first part of the Norte. So the one starting in San Sebastian, around Bilbao, around Santander, up to Rijon. This is really superb because you're really along the coast all the time. If you do the full thing there, it's 800 kilometers. There's a typo here. It doesn't start at Saint Jean. It starts in San Sebastian. There's 50 night walking, 30 night cycling, about an average a little longer, and there's less opportunity, I would say, to break the stages. The villages are a little bit more spread. It's about 25 kilometers. It's not much more, and in terms of ascent and descent, well, the beginning and the end are a bit more difficult with about 500-meter ascent and descent, and in between it's a little bit more flattish with about 300-meter. Really, why to go there is because you're between mountain and sea. You got the sea on the right and the mountains with snow in spring and autumn on your left. You got fabulous food, less people, maybe more adventure for some. The cities really that you should really see and take extra nights if you're there is San Sebastian, Bilbao, Santander, Rijon, Ribadeo, Santiago de Compostela, obviously. And if you just want to spend 1 week on that nice route and finish in Santiago, then start in Villalba. So yes, Jeremy, I know that you got some question generally about am I fit enough? Can I do the Camino? what would you advise? What would you say to those people that are not sure if they are able to do the Camino really?
Well, you know, and when you think about it, and you're looking at the long routes and the distances, 25 kilometers a day, you know, the French way up to 40 days walking. So you definitely great to have some days off. And I think, you know, we're all able to go out there on any given day and walk a certain amount of kilometers, you know, close to our home. The human body's able to do that, but walking consecutive days really what gets you here, because we're not used to walking 25 kilometers every day for a number of days. But so obviously you need to train before you go, and the more you train, the more your body's going to be used to this, and the more fun you're going to have. That's not to say you won't get tired. No matter how fit you are and how fit of a walk you are, you will still get tired. You will still get stiff, and you'll still get sore. But it's the recovery rate that really is what you need. You will get better if you are fitter. So when you're at home and you're thinking you're going to be doing the Camino, get out there, get some rocks in your backpack or bottles of water, and walk up some hills and try and increase your distances every day. And also try and walk consecutive days. So if you a weekend walk on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, your body will actually learn that that's something that you can do. When you're actually walking the Camino, I always say that the first day is no problem. Halfway through the second day, you're going to start getting very sore. The morning of the third day, you're just going to wake up going, I don't want to do this, but you got to get up and do it. And halfway through the third day, you get into the rhythm, your body starts to fitten up, and then you really get into the mode of the Camino. And when you get to the end, wherever that may be, you won't want to stop. And that's, you know, it's not true to everybody, but it really happens that way.